From the outset, there were three things that I was told that we would look to manipulate intelligence on and bend the truth about. And I told them up front that I wasn't going to do it.
What are the three things?
So the three things were Russian disinformation as it related to the president. The second was the southwest border. And the third was white supremacy. Those were three issues that I was, there was intense pressure to try to take intelligence and fit a political narrative.
Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in New York. It is one of the through lines of the Trump presidency, a multi-year effort led by the disgraced ex-president himself to weaponize the institutions of the federal government to Trump's advantage. Among the people sounding the alarm about the rot inside the government and how Trump allies pressured civil servants to bend the truth to fit political talking points and disinformation for Trump. The man you just heard from there, his name is Brian Murphy. He's a longtime law enforcement official who once led the DHS intelligence effort. He left the department on Friday after more than 2 decades in public service, and he is just now speaking out. He filed a whistleblower complaint last year alleging that he was repeatedly told by former Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, Acting Secretary Chad Wolf, and others to downplay, modify, or even censor intelligence on multiple issues. You heard him list them there. Russia, the border, and white supremacy, even if it meant jeopardizing our country's national security, because the reports would be unflattering for then President Trump. Murphy describes a DHS where, quote, it was all about politics, where he felt intense pressure to fit narratives pushed by Trump. On the issue of white supremacy, which is part of what the Biden DHS names as the top threat facing the homeland, Murphy says that discussing it as a national security problem became a, quote, third rail ever since Trump defended the white nationalists who marched in Charlottesville. A spokesperson for DHS last year flatly denied Murphy's claims. And as the disgraced ex-president continues to lead this version of the Republican Party and plots a comeback in 2024, Murphy has this dire warning about what a second Trump term would mean for the intelligence community and the country.
I think it would be a disaster. I think he has denigrated, he's put out the intelligence community, he's puts out disinformation, and that's an existential threat to democracy, and he is one of the best at putting it out and hurting this country.
Former president's politicization and decimation of the intelligence product is where we start this hour with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Former Senator and MSNBC political analyst Claire McCaskill is back. Also joining us, Frank Figliuzzi, former FBI Assistant Director for Counterintelligence, now an MSNBC National Security Analyst and host of the Bureau podcast. And Carol Lennox here, Washington Post National Investigative Reporter, MSNBC contributor and co-author of the best-selling book, I Alone Can Fix It. Carol Lennox, I start with you. I feel like this is more than an iceberg. A lot of this was public facing and some of it reported by you and your colleagues in the Post and in other news outlets. But this is the full Monty. This is hell yes. We were asked to lie about the intelligence product when it came to Russia, the border and immigration, and white supremacy. Wow.
Wow, indeed. I have to say that a lot of this, in some respects, as you perfectly described, feels really familiar, not only because of the reporting in the real time, but also reporting that we did later for our book, Phil Rucker and I. But I will say the wow factor is the trifecta. You know, these three items we were instructed very explicitly to doctor, to Jimmy, because it would be, quote unquote, according to Brian Murphy, embarrassing to the president. It is sort of striking to me, too, Nicole, how frequently it's almost like a little bit of whack-a-mole, and I don't mean this in a joking way, but how many times you have people popping up who said, yeah, this happened to me. And also I was told the doctor reports. And also we were also not allowed to say anything about Russia. You know, it reminds me of the head of the National Counterterrorism Center, Bill Evanina. In our book, we learned that he basically was told, look, we know China and Iran are really not that big a threat. Russia is the one that's really trying to interfere in the second presidential election. But let's not really emphasize that. Let's not lead with that. Bill Evanina had his hand, his head handed to him by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She'd been briefed on the real intelligence. She told him in the summer of 2020, are you kidding me? I know what is really happening. Why do you keep bringing up China and Iran? But yet again, just like Brian Murphy, another wing, another whack-a-mole, another wing of the U.S. government was being told, yeah, don't tell the whole truth. Just tell this other part, and let's downplay Russia. Let's downplay white supremacism. Let's downplay these other major risks to our country.
Yeah, and let's do the opposite. Let's play them up each one at a time and really focus on them in a substantive way, as only the three of you can do. I mean, Frank, we know so much about what was public facing, about this desire to downplay the threat from Russia. We know less about what was happening behind the scenes, and that is always the value of a whistleblower. But if you watch how whistleblowers were treated, I mean, I think the ex-president either tried to or successfully outed the whistleblower involved in the first impeachment. I want to read from the whistleblower complaint itself. In mid-May 2020, Mr. Wolf instructed Mr. Murphy to cease providing intelligence assessments on the threat of Russian interference in the United States, and instead start reporting on interference activities by China and Iran. Mr. Wolf stated that these instructions specifically originated from White House National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien. Murphy informed Wolf he would not comply with these instructions, as doing so would put the country in substantial and specific danger. It is rarely, Frank Figliuzzi, laid out so plainly that what the Trump administration did was something that they knowingly put the country in substantial and specific danger. But again, firsthand insider testimony, that's precisely what they did.
Yeah, Nicole, I know Brian Murphy. I've spoken with him a number of times, and I know him to be truly motivated by one thing, and that is the desire to maintain our democracy and national security. We need more Brian Murphys in public service. And for those I see right now on social media who said, well, we're really going to spend energy on this kind of arcane intelligence community problem. Let me try and connect the dots here and why everyone should care about what Brian Murphy is saying, and everyone should care about the intelligence community. This isn't just about suppressing intelligence. That's one half of the equation, is from the White House being told, don't report on this. The other half of the equation is, please report more on this over here, like it's a big threat that we all should be pulling our hair out over. So there's deceit in both of those elements. Now, let me bring this closer to home for folks. Why does that matter? The Department of Homeland Security has a major partnership with local, county, and state law enforcement. So when we hear from Brian, for example, that they were not to report on the growing threat of violent white supremacy, guess what? That means that your local, county, and state police agencies who rely on DHS for that kind of global reporting aren't prepping, developing sources, aren't preparing their police on the street to deal with armed white supremacists, white nationalists. They aren't getting that information like they should. That's about as local as it gets. And then when you're deceiving the entire intelligence community about the threat posed by a certain country, you're really impacting national security. It's gotten to the point where I've become a so-called one-issue voter, and I've never cared about politics in my entire career. What's my one issue now when I consider a candidate? Does this person pose a threat to our national security? Yes or no? If I can't get over that first box and check that box, I don't go to any other issues. I don't need to. That's how important this is.